Okay, so to introduce the idea of Our City, Our Music, I'd like to invite you to put your headphones on and come with me on a journey guided by a member of your favourite local band, your favourite musician. And really what they'll be doing is giving you a narrative that takes you to a location where they've created a kind of hidden recording within the city. And this would be a place that the band themselves or musician had chosen. And so once you arrived at this location, you'd eventually hear a live recording that they'd made in that place. So if we zoom out from that one particular location to the whole city, there would be 12 different bands recorded in different locations across the city. So an album across the city, recorded in fish and chip shops or courtyards, different cafes that the bands kind of had some real kind of connection with. So really discovering where the band, you'd really be given the opportunity to discover where the bands were from. Now the way this would work is you'd be guided through the city by a map that knows where you are on the device. And so you would use your senses, you would listen to the narration of each band member guiding you to these different locations in the city, but also be guided by this map. So this, as you kind of drew closer to each location, the narration would become familiar. So you'd kind of recognise different things that the band members were talking about. So different places, different things within that particular location. And then eventually you'd hear an interview by the band in this location. And that would give you the opportunity really to find out more about a band that you were a fan of or something like that. More information about local musicians by listening to these interviews and this performance that they would have recorded in this location. And there'd also be a music video that would accompany this. So essentially by listening to a track of your favourite musician or local band in this location, it would really enable you to kind of connect with them within the city. So to have some kind of conversation, virtual conversation with them in these locations. So you get this feeling of intimacy that you don't normally get when you're just kind of walking through the city with your MP3 player. And really this is a type of content that we feel that fans really crave. So, there would be an audience there, a ready-made audience for this mscape. So the fans of the bands, the fans of different musicians within that city would be brought together within this project, Our City, Our Music, for a day-long event where they could then really kind of go out and borrow a device to actually explore the mscape. And it was kind of a new way of consuming music. It's kind of located geographically within the city. This idea of a silent disco, an invisible festival across the city. And then after this kind of day-long event that would launch the project, there'd be an archive there. So residents living in the city day to day would be able to kind of dip in and out of the project. So they might change their route to work, or while they're out walking the dog, they'd be able to engage with one of these recordings and kind of find out a little bit more about their city and about the band they might be a fan of. They might discover a new band through this kind of media. And also it would act as a guide for visitors to the city. So we really see that kind of locating some of these recordings in particular locations in the city, so train stations, bus stations, gateways to the city, you can really invite people on a journey, a kind of alternative city guide that would allow them to kind of engage with the bands, but also with the stories that bands will have or musicians will have about their city. So a kind of really personal relationship would be kind of brought about. So the team that we've put together to actually develop this project is myself, Ben Halsell, and Megan Smith, who work on a locational art project called the DoGoSee.com project, and a guy called Ben Dalton, who teaches games design at Leeds Met University and has also studied pervasive media at MIT. And really, what we're looking for now is to kind of take this to the next level. So we're looking for people that we can work with. So the b.TWEEN audience is kind of, we're asking you to help us, firstly by voting, but also perhaps there's other partnerships that we can form that will kind of help realise this project. And so this is really to support this idea that we're going to commission these bands to work with local filmmakers, so it would really be, a locally driven kind of project where people are given the opportunity to have master classes to work with production companies that they wouldn't otherwise have access to produce a really great product. And so, as with every fantastic album, there's always a hidden track that would kind of appear on that album. It's really to ask you to imagine again what it would have been like if we had this kind of content created 20, 30 years ago, what it would mean to kind of go back to those places where these huge bands had inhabited, to go back to a local recording that had been made by them. And so in 20, 30 years' time, how will the bands that we've recorded locally, local musicians, local bands, actually exist in that period of time, in 20, 30 years of time? What will that archive mean? Thank you.